Hi, John Lay here from Talented Learning, and welcome back to our Executive Briefing series. On this series, we travel the world over, meeting the world's best and most innovative learning systems and learning technology solution providers, one by one. And with each, we have a discussion about their business, their history, their company, their solution, the scope of their solution, differentiators, and markets they serve. And then we jump into a live demonstration and we see what it's all about. Today on our stop is Tovuti LMS. And Tovuti, we're joined by Tovuti's CEO, Troy McClain, and also their CLO, Tyson, Chaplain. Gentlemen, take it over. It's all yours.
John, thanks so much for having us on. It's been fantastic to have the opportunity to speak to your audience and speak to you. I want to give your audience a brief background. I first reached out to John about a couple weeks ago, and what he's done for the industry has been absolutely amazing. And so when COVID had hit, I saw an email come from you, John, and about the LMS awards and the events that were going out. And well, I'm just going to reach out to you because I've been reading you, I've been studying you, and I thought, we'll just see. And I kid you not, everyone that's listening right now, John is as real can be. We had an old-fashioned phone call, like an old-fashioned phone call. What is this? And I was on a tractor at the time. I was like, listen, I got to get to my tractor because I'm working on the ranch out here. And John's like, yeah, I know what that's about. So John, it was great to have that conversation. And I'm glad that we're actually having another one that we can share with everyone.
Yeah, no, I was pretty impressed about everything I learned, and I couldn't wait to have you on the show here so the rest of the world could hear it too. So yeah. Thanks.
That's awesome. So one of the questions that John had asked me and, why get into the learning management system? And so for me, it comes from my background. My kid sister is profoundly deaf and she's developmentally delayed. We've been involved in the special needs community since before I can remember. My mother, God bless my mother. My mom has got an 8th grade education in motherhood. My mother was a bouncer of a bar and a truck driver. And my mom just had a different way of seeing how education should be applied. And so over the years, my mom would challenge us, and she would challenge the way that we were learning. She would say things like, you're not failing. You're just in between success cycles. So stop saying you're failing. Okay, that makes sense. We're in between success cycles. She'd say, Troy, you just fail up. You don't fall down. Like, okay, that makes sense. But along the way, I'm not getting good grades in school. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. Fast forward to today. I become an international trainer in live events, and I'm training people in the ethos of their ecosystem, change management, cultural change management, but it's all live events. And because of this training background that I had, not from an educational background for like K through 12, but for adult education and the efficacy of training, I always thought, why can't they do this online? And we looked at a couple online companies, and they were all great, by the way. There's none of them that are wrong. They're all great. But then I looked back to what my mom would say. Like, we're not failing. We're just in between success cycles. We're failing up. We're not falling down. And the modality of our training is what I started looking at. It's too old. The way that we train right now is too old. In 1998, because of some family situations, I ended up taking legal guardianship of my baby sister. And again, my baby sister is profoundly deaf, developmentally delayed. And going through all the old modalities, they told us she ain't going to get any better. She's stuck right here. Can't do nothing. That can't be true. But it was because of the modalities of training. It was because of the pedagogy or the path of what they were taking her down wasn't meeting her needs. So in 2017, when I had afforded myself, I sold a company, and I went, I'm going to change it. I'm just going to change it, and I'm going to challenge that. I went to my engineer, who's my engineer today. I went to my CLO, who's my CLO today. I went to all these guys. I said, I got this idea, and I want to make training something that's not required, but something that's fun. I want to pull them into it. I didn't know, John, that it was called gamification. I didn't know it was called journification. I didn't know it was called badging, but I said, there's my kid sis right there. She's got to get a driver's license. She's got to get a full-time job, and she's special needs. And everyone's telling me can't be done. So I want to create an award that if she goes through this path, she then gets this bonus point. And that bonus point was worth something. And that worth something, she can cash it in here, cash it in there. And so ultimately, we didn't know it was called gamification, journification. We didn't know it was called adaptive learning. We just knew that we had a mission and a vision and a purpose. And that was to challenge the modality of learning and the way that we deliver education. And thus, we got Tovuti.
Wow, outstanding. And so what is Tovuti?
Yeah, so it's a great question. By the way, everybody struggles with the name.
I didn't look down that time.
You did great. At the time, we were calling it the platform. And so in early 2017, all we did was test. We weren't open to the market. We just tested, and we tested with my sister. And at the time, I was explaining to my sister, who's profoundly deaf, developmental delays. So I sign all the time when I talk about my sister, Dorlin McClain, who's the love of my life. And I'm always telling her, education's like the elephant. It passes from the adult to the child, and what they do is tail and trunk, and they carry together. So I'm explaining this elephant to her. She goes, well, what's it called? She'd say, like, what's it called? Like, what do I say? What's the name of the platform? I go, it's a platform. It's a platform. My engineer looked up an African word, which is from it's Swahili, and it means belly button, core, or center of knowledge. So the Swahili term Tovuti means center of knowledge, core, or the literal translation is belly button. But he looked it up because of the elephant, and I'd always talk about the elephant to my kid sister. And it's the active transfer of knowledge from one generation to another. So my engineer says, Troy, you're always telling us that your kid sis has to be, like, she has to be excited about this. She has to see this. He came out with the logo of the elephant and the name Tovuti. I'm going to be PG-13 with your group here. So my sister says to me, she signs it. She goes, Tovuti. I'm like, yeah. She goes, like my booty? Tovuti, my booty? Sure, that's one way to remember it. You can say Tovuti, my booty, but it really means center of knowledge, core, or belly button. And so what Tovuti truly does is it delivers a corporation, an entity's, or an organization's active knowledge base to the next generation by training, tracking, and reporting. And we do that through a very gamified, journified, and with AI, artificial intelligence, that says, if they do this, then they get access to this. If they do that, then they get access to that. And so it's all through gamification and artificial intelligence that allows your education to be delivered with our innovation.
Mm-hmm. And your solutions are targeted towards corporate America or academia? Corporate America and associations?
Yeah, corporate America primarily, John. We built it out with a mission and a vision and a purpose based on the answer to a question. And the question is, no matter the issue, education is the answer. No matter the issue, education is the answer. But how do you get education in people's hands? And how do you challenge the old brick and mortar modalities through a gamified, journified network? And so our solution is a cloud-based solution that journifies your education that you want to deliver to your corporations or to your employees. We're made up about 85% corporate learners of adult education for career advancement or for mitigation of risk. We have like CDL associations. We have law firms that have to train their lawyers to have continuing education credits and to have updated guidelines. We have real estate loan officers that have to have continuing education credit to make sure that they maintain their license. But we also have active transfer of knowledge in how to sign properly to people that are deaf, how to handle the COVID outbreak in a workspace environment. We have courses and we have lessons that help deliver that education, but we're primarily corporation with a small blend of higher education, such as university level higher education.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And could you define journification for us, please?
Yeah, I think journification is something that I didn't know it was called that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce my Chief Learning Officer, Tyson Chaplain, and I'll have him speak to it briefly. But what I was telling Tyson, by the way, everybody, Tyson Chaplain is the funniest guy in the world. Tyson has got his master's degree in education with an emphasis in technology integration. And so when I went to Tyson and I was like, Tyson, my sister can't be right and wrong. It just can't be right and wrong because she'll get disappointed if she's wrong. She likes to go down a journey, and what I wanted her to do is answer a question and just find out the competency level of the answer to the question, but I want to keep running her through the learning path. Because the old way of training is you're right or you're wrong. You pass or you fail. Well, that becomes very discouraging. And so what I would say to Tyson, like, can we build these courses where it's a journey? He's like, oh, sure, it's journification. And so it's adaptive learning is what it really is. So Tyson, I'm going to hand it over to you and just briefly talk on that and explain what journification is.
Yeah, and I think you summarized it best there toward the very end when you said it's adaptive learning. And so something that we're working on here at Tovuti and that we're going to continue to roll out as time goes on is ways to make it to where the learning platform adapts to the style of learner that is working within it and the performance that they're having within the system. And so examples of that might be, you have a new learner that comes in, they're going to take an assessment of some sort, and based on that assessment, we start to integrate some prescriptive learning to where we say, okay, you're really good in your sales training, you're really good in your compliancy, but you need to work on your soft skills. And so based on that and some predictive analytics that we're going to use, we're going to prescribe to you courses that are going to help you with that soft skills training while maintaining these other couple of skills. To get a little more granular than that, we're working on implementing adaptive assessments within the system where a person may come in and answer 5 questions, and then based on how they did on those first 5 questions, they may be either elevated to a different question bank that might be a little bit more challenging to them, or they might be given a question bank that is more their speed, just depending on how they're performing. And the assessment will go between those 3 banks of questions based on how they're doing, and so that they're never at frustration level. This was something kind of interesting because Dora Lynn especially has had to take different assessments within her career as a learner that help to gauge where she's at on various independent living skills and things like that. And most of those kind of assessments are adaptive because what researchers have found are that people, especially people with special needs, you don't like to be frustrated when you're taking a quiz. When you're at a frustration level, you tend not to be performing as well, and you tend to just stop trying. And so the whole point of an adaptive assessment is to make sure that that learner is never at a frustration level, but as the administrator or the instructor, you're getting an accurate representation of how they're doing within the system. And so to kind of bring that back around to journification, what we're trying to do is provide a more holistic learning experience with Tovuti than just come onto our platform, watch a video, take a quiz, here's your grade, your marked off is done. We're trying to make it much more engaging and much more holistic in terms of the education that that learner is receiving.
Okay, thank you for that. Is the adaptive part tied to skill and competencies? Is that the foundation, or have you found some other way?
It's so funny that you asked that. It seems like something happened 6 months to a year ago where competency mapping and skill mapping really got big within the learning and development industry and then started to kind of trickle into learning platforms. And that is something that Tovuti is currently working on developing out. It's on our technology roadmap, and there are some of the foundational pieces of that in place. But yes, eventually when we kind of hit the Tyson and Troy's perfect world of learning platforms, that is how it will work.
And we're already so far ahead, John, of that type of skills assessment plus being able to create those adaptive learning scenarios. I want to emphasize that the vision was to help somebody out who didn't have the Rubik's Cube solution, and we created a new solution. However, our base model is used by corporate America and corporate international. We have clients in Dubai, we have clients in Europe, we have clients in Australia, and we're discovering that they're seeing the same thing, that this way of delivering education needs to be infotained. And so it's informative but entertainment at the same. So it's infotainment that pulls them into the ecosystem versus push out the information and say, take this test, pass or fail. Our clients are discovering that by being able to author within our system these types of scenarios that have gamification, journification, branching scenarios, really gamified, it creates an ecosystem of entertainment, but they're still getting their education that is required by the corporation.
Okay. And so we got to get to seeing this because I want to see how all this works. But the content, one last question before that, the content itself. So an organization has their intellectual content,
Right.
their property. Does there need to be a massaging to get it into this path, like for?
There does. There does. It's because a lot of the content is based off of the traditional PDF and PowerPoint. Now, the massaging is simple. It's not easy. I want to be very clear. It's simple. Follow the prescriptive courses on how to implement it, then it's great. A lot of people go, you said it was easy. No, I said it was simple, and it's simple. Just follow the steps. So we got to make sure that we understand the definition of the words. But once we take a PDF and we migrate that into a whole course that has multiple lessons underneath of it, we can generate a three-dimensional room. We can generate all kinds of things. I'll turn it over to Tyson because he's going to pull up a YouTube video, and you'll be able to see. So when a client comes to us and says, I have a bunch of old information, I want to turn it into new information, and I want to put it on your platform. And so Tyson's pulling up, we can see it right now that Tyson's pulling up on YouTube, and he's going to show you how fast he can pull something in. So why don't we just get into showing the system, and Tyson, if you want to just show on the dashboard, we can see everything you're doing right now. So just show on the dashboard kind of some of the types of lessons that we can build.
Yeah. So do we want to jump directly into that, or do we want to kind of start at the beginning in terms of the user experience and move into the courses? How would you prefer to do that?
Yeah, you run the show from here. We'll let the chief
run the show.
Yeah,
that's a scary.
What I was thinking exactly.
All right. So I'm just going to start at the beginning and kind of show you what a learner might experience when they first log into our system and the different parts that can be customized and configured. And we will definitely get to the course building part of that in very short order then. Okay. First, what I'll say is Tovuti is completely mobile responsive. You can use this on a phone, a tablet. My cheesy sales shtick that I'll use is my mom knows how to build a lesson on Tovuti, and I don't trust her with my cell phone. And so I've hit that point in my life where I'm a vehicle for her grandchildren and I'm tech support.
Yes.
And I've actually given my mom an iPad and she's played around and built lessons on the system. So if my mom can do it, almost anybody can do it. Everything that you're seeing here is a white label solution. We can change out the coloring, obviously your logo, what you see here on this welcome screen, even what you see on this dashboard can be configured pretty heavily based on what a client wants to do. I like this dashboard the best because it engages that singular learner right off the bat. They're going to be able to see what badges they've earned within our system. They're going to be able to see what certificates they've built out and they've earned within the system. And forgive me because they're working on a line in front of our subdivision and I know they're messing with my internet. It's been slow all day long. But you can see a
executive briefing day.
Yeah. And so you can see a certificate, they can download their certificates. These certificates are built and customized within our system, and then you can set up the conditionality that they're issued to the learner as they successfully complete courses and activities within the platform. We also have a leaderboard because you can assign points to lessons and courses, and that way the more lessons and courses you take, you can compete with each other to get on this leaderboard. In my demo instance, I'm a very lonely learner, but the upside is I'm always number one. We go down here and we have checklists. These are essentially learning paths within our system to where if you get a new employee and you know that new employee is going to have to take a violence in the workplace course, some kind of a sexual harassment course, they need to go offline and sign their employee handbook and meet with their supervisor. And then they're going to have a welcome to the company kind of culture seminar that they need to attend. Tovuti does event management, whether that's in person or online. And so when this person gets checked into this event, this box will check itself off. When they meet with their supervisor, that's outside of our ecosystem, but they can check this box off themselves or the supervisor can do that for them. And then as they successfully complete courses in the system, these boxes are going to check themselves off. And basically at the end of the day, what that means is that learner always knows what they have to do within the system. They're not wandering around aimlessly. Here you can see all of the courses that learner is taking, and they can jump to those courses by pressing these buttons. And here you can see any events that are open for that person to attend. You can see this person has a meeting that they can jump into by pressing this button. Tovuti does have a virtual meeting room built into the system, and we can also integrate with other platforms such as Zoom or WebEx or GoTo. Now we'll jump over to the courses. Courses in Tovuti are a big reason why I'm at the company. When Troy and our lead engineer, Jeremy, showed me the system for the first time, I'm not going to lie, I thought this was all a prototype. And what really drew me in was how the courses were being built out and how smooth it was and how you can build interactivity into them. And I'll tell you a fun little story about that in a second too. But when you go into a course in our system, they're essentially shells for lessons. And then when you go into a lesson, this is where you're going to see things like PDFs. You're going to see videos. This is a video I made. That's chubby Cyber Tyson right there. And you're going to be able to see quizzing. We can do true, false, multiple choice, drag and drop, fill in the blank, mark the words, all that fun stuff. And we can also set it up to where learners can upload things to you as the administrator.
And
so
I just want to interrupt that real quick. John, for us, that was a key component. We want an interaction between the two. So that ability to be able to upload completion of homework or for example, my sister, I wanted her to upload her presentation on did she discover the new signs and is she doing them properly? She could send in to me and I could check off that it was done right or wrong or there was room for improvement. And so we had that interaction. And then with our corporations, they like that. So we have law firms that want to test their student lawyers to make sure they're presenting properly. They can record themselves, they can upload that recording, and then they can get feedback. And so having that interaction is very important.
Yep. And then speaking of interactions, I'm going to show you something really cool that we can do with our videos. So if I press play on this guy, and I don't know how this will transfer into the WebEx, or I mean the GoToMeeting, but we'll try it out. I'm going to press play on this.
Zombies are everywhere. It is my duty to inform you of the imminent demise of the human race. What?
So we can take any video that you upload into our system or you bring over from YouTube, and we can put interactivity such as quizzing on top of it. I am not a good employee. I'm a great employee in Troy's eyes. Don't get me wrong, I'm a great employee.
Great.
But when it comes to doing compliance training, I am one of those guys where if I can press play on that video and go get a coffee, I'm going to do it. So what we did.
I've never been like that.
No, none of us have, right?
What we did is we made it to where if you've got a bad employee like me that's going to press play on this and go get coffee, you can see I've taken away all the navigation on this video and it's stopped right here on this question. This video is not going to move until I answer this question. And I'm going to have to answer multiple questions inside of this video and watch it until the end for it to become from required to being marked complete. So I'm not going to be able to move on from this lesson until all of these required things have been marked complete. So we do have lesson gating and stuff built into that. This is an excellent way not only to engage your learners in the video that you're watching, but to also ensure that they're actually engaging and learning the content that you want them to watch before they go on to that next lesson.
Couple questions. Are you leveraging the H5P LTI to do this, or is this something that you home developed?
Yeah.
So originally,
off of that for sure, and then added on top of it, 20,000 layers on top, and it's just been phenomenal for us. But definitely leveraging off of that has been fantastic.
Yeah, the H5P content served as a foundation, but what we've built from that, since it is open source, is the ability to integrate with our reporting functionality, the ability to kind of be scalable within our lessons and our courses. And so we've used that H5P platform as a launch pad and built out other integrations to make it a deeper rooted integration than what you would get from the out of the box H5P content. What I'm going to show you is we'll jump over to the back end now.
Those gates that you were mentioning, just last question on that. I really like interactive video. Those gates that you were mentioning, and then the reporting and analytics. So you can, if I understood you correctly, you can establish basically criterion or completion criterion based on those gates.
Yes.
For the video.
Yes.
Yeah.
So and so what I'm going to do right now, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to make a video, and we're going to include it in that lesson. And so I'm going to, what was that?
I was just going to say, while he's doing that, John, those questions are fantastic, and we get those asked from our other clients, like how do you create those gates? How do you create the interactive content? And it's not that we do it, it's that we give the authoring tool for them to do it. And so it's very important, because a lot of people are asking us, like, well, I don't want to just be dependent on Tovuti. And what we'll say is, you're not. Tovuti is giving you, the author, the platform to build within the framework. And so you, the administrator, you, the HR director, you, the trainer, you know what courses you want and what you need to have established as the demarcation mark. You don't want to be interdependent on us. And so what we've done is we've created a self-authoring platform that introduces these interactive activities through nominal training, and we do offer training courses to those that are implementing it.
Yep. And how about services? Do you guys provide the services to do it for clients that don't have the resources, or
we do?
You do that also?
Yeah, we do, depending on the lift and the size, but it comes out of the box with us just supplying the services.
Sure.
And then what we have happened a lot in our managed services for our larger clients, especially in today's landscape, they're saying, we just want it done. Like, just do it for us. And so, okay, and then we have an additional product, which is managed services, and we really become their integrated marketing team or their integrated education team to take their old PDFs, their old PowerPoints, and just keep building out content for them.
Okay, thank you. Good.
So as you guys have been talking, I have been building out an interactive video. I went to YouTube and found a video about a $1 sushi restaurant, which is making me very hungry. And
thinking the same.
I love
sushi's amazing. And I am just building out some quizzing right on top of this. And so we can say things like, I built out a true false. I'm building out a multiple choice right now. And we're just going to give them some options here. I don't even want to know what German sushi would be like.
This is where we're really showing the admin the ease of use, the simplicity of use. It's ease of use, but it's not easy. You still have to build the content and overlay on it. But by giving them that access, they create their own courses to their own ecosystem. There's courses that may not be maybe too generic, that need to be very specified to one organization or another. The International Sushi Association, maybe. Like, where did this originate from? And it's a drag and drop. Drag from YouTube, drop it in. Drag from an MP4, drop it in. Then overlay your educational tools on top of it. All leaning towards increasing the efficacy of knowledge and the efficacy of that transferred knowledge instead of just reading a PDF.
Yep.
And so what I've done is I made that piece of interactive content. I'm now in the lesson that I initially showed you guys. Instead of having that PDF that shows up at the very beginning, I'm going to choose interactive content from the different media types that we can build a lesson out of. And then I'm going to give it a name. And we're going to give this a new icon just for fun. I've said it's required for completion. And I've also said that the minimum score needs to be 100%. So now I'm going to save and close. I'm going to come back to here. I'm going to refresh this lesson. And now you can see we no longer have that PDF what was here. We have our sushi video. It's required. I left navigation on just for the sake of time for this demo. We're going to scrub through to that first question. Making himself some tea. That's all sorts of fun. Yes, true. Awesome. And then we're going to scrub forward to the next question.
And this was
there.
This literally changed my sister and the community at large. Their ability to learn is so much more interactive. And it also really armed our administrators with the ability to be creative. Traditionally, they're known as dry. They're known as the compliance police, that this, that. Now, you're giving them the tools to be interactive, creative, and discover a side of themselves that is like, we are seeing ways of using our own system from our 200 plus clients that none of us ever even thought of.
And this is where I'm just going to bring in a little story. So when I first started talking to Troy, we met through a mutual friend. And I was working for a company and working on building out an LMS for them for about 100,000 employees. And that was kind of wrapping up. And I had been in talks with going up to Seattle and working for another company. Troy gives me a demo. And he hits this part right here, which all of the different interactive content modules that we can build out and include in lessons. My background is very heavily e-learning content development. And so I was brought up learning Adobe Captivate and how to use some JavaScripting and some HTML to build out an interactive video from scratch, or how to build out a branching scenario from scratch. And what's really cool about Tovuti and the way that we've integrated this within Tovuti is you look at a lot of smaller businesses, mid-sized businesses, they may not have the resources to hire a guy like me or a team of guys like me to build out, a score module with 50% interactivity, or they may not have somebody on their team that knows how to do that. And so what Tovuti's really done, include these in the platform like we do, and then making it so easy to include into the lessons, is we've really kind of democratized the way that people that may not normally have these resources, they can now build out these engaging and interactive lessons using the videos and the PDFs and the PowerPoints that they've already built out. And so we've really given them a very powerful tool. When Troy first showed me this, I thought, like I said, it was a prototype, and I said, this is awesome. I'm gonna follow you guys when you guys go live. Let me know. And he's like, no, we're live. We already have clients. And so I said, okay, Well, I've worked on 25 different learning platforms up to this point, and this is hands down the coolest one. I'm going back to my job and I'm quitting now, and I work here, so figure out how much I get paid and where I sit. And that is literally how I Jedi mind tricked Troy into hiring me.
That is a
And
true story.
Nice.
it's just a cool platform. It's a cool platform, and it's so easy and quick to do some of this stuff. It's a simple and quick to do some of this stuff that, it's not like any learning platform I've seen before this, and I wanted to be a part of it. And fortunately, Troy's the kind of guy that responds to people demanding to hire him. And so that worked out pretty well for me.
Hey, that's cool. Tyson, could you go back to that and give me the slow roll down on the bottom half of those options? Let's see what all these options are.
And Tyson,
We
if
have
you
things
make your screen large, if you click on, can you make it any larger, like full screen?
I'm full screen.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm full screen. So we've got things like the interactive video, branching scenarios, memory games, quizzing. We have course presentations where you can upload PDFs or PowerPoints and build out interact on top of those. Things like flashcards, fill in the blanks. We can do open-ended questions. We have image hotspots, so you can take screenshots of maybe software that you're training people on, and you're going to put buttons on those screenshots. And then when they click those buttons, they're going to get either video or textual descriptions of what they're seeing. We have things like virtual tours, to where if you wanted to build like it's the employee's first day at the job, and so you're going to give them a virtual tour since it's COVID, and they're going to be able to see that door, and when they click on the door, they're going to see a picture of the lobby, and they're going to be able to click around the different parts of the building. And so an employee may know where they're sitting and how to get to their desk before they even get to the campus.
Yeah.
So all sorts of just different, really cool things. When Troy mentioned we have customers that use a lot of these tools in ways we never thought of, branching scenarios is kind of a fun one. We have a driving school that partners with us, and what they'll do is they'll put a GoPro on their cars. And I don't know how it is in Pennsylvania, but in Idaho, nobody knows how to use a roundabout to save their life.
We never had it 5 years ago. The whole state of Idaho didn't have a roundabout. We didn't have it 5 years ago.
And so what this
We're not smart enough out here for them.
They put a video up, and it's got a car approaching a roundabout. And then once it hits the roundabout, a question gets asked. Do you turn right or left? Easy question. If you choose left, which you should not choose, you're going to see this cartoony, fiery explosion, and then you're going to be prompted to try again. If you choose right, then the video just continues through that roundabout until they're asked to make another choice. And so we can build out some really cool and engaging ways to teach people using the media that many of these businesses may have already made. And it is really, really neat. As somebody that is very used to e-learning content development, it's really cool to see how people that aren't trained like I am utilize these materials to build out learning for their teams.
Yeah, click in that branching scenario. Let's just see some of the configuration options on something like that.
Yeah.
And John, while we're doing that, I was giving Tyson a bit of your background and how you got into the LMS industry. Like all of us, I think that it just kind of called to us. While he's clicking on that, if you can give him a quick background on you.
I think I have the same education as you, Tyson, except I'm a little bit older. I'm carrying about 25 years ago. I got a degree in instructional technology, and basically a few years in, I just tripped into a job with a company called Click to Learn, which eventually merged its way into SumTotal Systems.
Yeah.
And between there and another place, I spent 14 years as an enterprise LMS sales guy that was also an instructional technologist. And that basically led me to found Talented Learning 7 years ago, really to be the only place in the world that really brings together some frontline buying and selling experience with the review of the learning technology industry. So in a quick nutshell, that's how I got here.
That's awesome. Yeah. We do have very similar backgrounds. I started out in special education, and I actually taught at a virtual high school, and I taught special education. And then when I got my master's in ed tech, I became that district's technology coordinator. And from there, I got hired by the learning platform that our district was using. And then one day I woke up and I no longer was a teacher, and I worked in LMSs and content development.
Neat. Good story.
And everybody stayed at a Holiday Inn once, just so you know.
It was all
That's
before
right.
us all.
Exactly. So what he's done here, you can
I'm
see,
just building out some choices.
yeah, you can see that what he's doing with it's all configurable. So it's not customizable, it's configurable.
Sure.
And it's drag and the drop into what your branch scenario that you want to do. And so as he drags and drops whatever elements or whatever values that he chooses to drag and drop in there, he can create different labels or different answers, different questions, different points. And he's really, say it one more time.
And feedback. Like
Yeah, get feedback. Yeah, exactly. And he's doing that through the course of us having this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, Tyson has been working in the system as our chief learning officer, but you can see that it's already set up with that ecosystem and that environment that becomes very high in its UX and its UI. That any administrator is able to go, okay, I see that it goes right here. A lot of user intuitiveness into it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just follow the steps.
Yeah, just follow the steps.
So we've got a video that would play. We'd get to the end of the video. Do you like sushi? I do like sushi.
I do too.
Oh,
You ought to tie some
here,
sushi reward cards into your whole gamification. But go ahead.
Yes, you should.
this is great. I
That
completely
one was for
goofed.
free.
I put the negative response on the positive answer. This is what happens
It's
when we
too
do
bad
live
you
TV,
don't.
folks.
Right.
No, but you can see what you're trying to do there, and we can also frame this to where it can be a very interactive process. Yeah, that's awesome. Your chief learning officer just completely goofed how he built that lesson.
No, dude, I think it's great because in some parts of the country, that's too bad you like sushi. We have none. So,
Yeah, no, that's true. And
You just
I
failed
host
up. That's all you did.
those places.
just fail up, Tyson. The problem is, this is not
And
good.
something that I want your viewers to take away from this is what I've been doing as we've been talking. I've made two different pieces of interactivity, and then I've gone into the same lesson and I've just subbed out the modules. And the reason I want to point that out is because this modular way of building out lessons means that as best practices change and as your learning materials change, you don't have to scratch your lesson and start from scratch. You can just sub out the different assets and the different modules within that lesson so that it's very quick to keep things dated, as well as very quick just to build out a lesson as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right.
So, John, I got to tell you, thank you so much for the time. I know we said we have about 45 minutes, and I could talk for 3 hours. I know Tyson can too. I have a few questions just for you and your viewers. Like, what are your viewers looking for when they're going to your audience, and how can we or anyone else answer those questions? What are you seeing in the market today?
Well, I think buyers are trying to solve whatever problem they have. And the good vendors are the ones that are putting their ears to the ground and listening and coming up with solutions, similar to what you're doing. Not how you're doing it, but you're solving a challenge in the marketplace. So very rarely will I have a buyer come to me and say, hey, I just need an LMS. It's always, I need an LMS to do.
Yes.
There's like a second part of that that sentence, and that to do is really different. It could be for employee learning, it could be for associations, it could be for academia, it could be for training customers or improving customer support. There's what I find is that I find very few generalist buyers. I find buyers that are trying to solve a problem. And that's why there's so many different types of learning solutions in the marketplace, because they're all trying to solve something uniquely. So as I look at your solution, for example, I see an organization that is solving the problem of online content, of what has traditionally been, the dings on online content is that it can be page turner, it can be boring, it can be expensive to develop, especially with any level of interactivity. And your organization and your solution looks like it's really wrapped their arms around trying to improve the efficacy of learning through interactivity. And you say gamification, and some of it is gamification, but I think some of it's just good design. It's hard to say that interactive video is gamification. I mean, maybe it could be defined that way, but it's rather high levels of interactivity that are threaded throughout the solution that engages the learner. That's pretty cool.
I'm glad you said that, because we struggle with that as any company. You're always trying to identify, and it is the way the process and the design has been set up more than it's gamification. But how do you explain that? But you come from a background of process and design, and you can see by that ease of use of creating the design and the process that it just clicks. Generically, gamify it, journify it. We find that with all of our clients, and we find that those that are with other LMSs are with the right LMSs. They really are, because LMS has its unique deliverable. We cannot be everything to everyone. We can be the best to our clients, but there are other LMSs that we go, whoa, that's awesome. Did you see what they did? Like, it's so cool.
You should have my seat. I get to see that every day. There's new and cool stuff. A key point of differentiation, for your solution is the merging, the seamless merging of LMS and authoring tool, or authoring solution, or LCMS, or however you want to describe that authoring piece. It's very common on these things where the attitude of the solution is that the content is really the responsibility of the organization over here to, it's their content, and we just have the infrastructure to deliver that. But you're really folding in two sectors, and you're not the only ones. Some of the most modern are, but you're folding in that authoring and the LMS back into one solution, which ironically is how it was 20 years ago. And then they split off for a few decades, and you're bringing it back in, and it has a lot of advantages of doing that, of making that a seamless experience. One, from just the ease of use, and only one system to learn, but one system to license, one throat to choke, one way to, just think overall about how content design is interwoven with delivery, and not two separate things. All of those are advantages that you bring to the table that you may or may not articulate on an everyday basis, but they are indeed advantages.
And I think you touch on a point there where, 20 years ago is about when SCORM came in, and you started seeing it where content was being taken out of the platform and given to specialists. And, it's great to create a revenue stream for that particular industry, but it makes it very hard unless you have either people with that background or the resources to pay people with that background to build out engaging training at that point. And so you really start to get a huge divide between companies that can pay for an LMS on top of excellent training versus companies who can choose between one or the other, but not both. And we try to marry that, definitely.
Definitely. With lack of resources now, and certainly in COVID time, anybody in our industry is working double hard, as we were talking about before we hit record. At this point, everybody's got a lack of resources. So to be able to, just the speed factor of being able to author quickly high-end content is needed for sure in the marketplace right now, without a ton of resources. Nobody's got 4 months to develop a piece of course. That in February we learned we were locked down, and by the end of February, new courses, new content, new journified paths had to be out all over the world. And so, people are scrambling to do things fast, and but you can, just like in all things in life, you can do it fast, or you can do it well, or you can do it cheap, but you can't have all three. And
Right.
so, so you've organizations that did it fast is great, but now that next step, when you look to see, okay, well, we very well could be in these COVID times a year from now. It's not just acceptable to be fast. It has to be engaging now, because everybody's taking all their content online, and the bar is definitely going up. So just by the nature of how you structured your company, you're well positioned, I think, to ride that market up right now, because you can quickly create good content and deliver it inside your platform. So
That's
I see
awesome.
your value. Thanks for taking the time here to come and show your organization. Tovuti, get it right there a second time without looking. And thank you guys for showing, and it's great to hear your enthusiasm and passion about what you're doing and your solution. And it's rare to have that kind of passion and enthusiasm and be on the wrong track. So congratulations, and keep it up.
John,
We appreciate you having us, John.
Yeah, appreciate your time, effort, and energy. And to your audience out there, it's Tovuti, Tovuti, and then it's LMS. So TovutiLMS.com. We'd love to have everybody come visit us. And for sure, for the best information, I really do say, listen to you. I mean, you've got some great insights, and I've been following you and certainly reached out to you. We'll continue to do the same.
Outstanding. Thanks for the kind words. Audience, thanks for listening to another episode. Look forward to seeing you on the next.